Welcome back to another episode of Tuxedo Time, where we wear tuxedos. And it is time, podcast edition. What edition is this after that?
What edition is this after that? I had this idea of a conversation that I wanted to have with you.
Okay.
I went back to see, had an idea for a podcast, and I was like, I thought we talked about this before, and I went back, and I came across a conversation we had about some random thing. I was like, it would be fun to have a conversation about at what point do you or can you call yourself a professional photographer, cinematographer, videographer, design, that kind of realm. And the reason why I asked this is because years ago when I started shooting photography, not when I started, I was well into my hobby of photography and had gotten a couple of paid jobs, but I didn't consider myself professional. But I think I was talking to my uncle, who's also a photographer, because we used to have this conversation, because he always said that even though he was very talented in photography, shot a lot, he knew his shit, he didn't consider himself a professional because he didn't do paid work. So he asked me, he said, did you get paid for this photo shoot? And I said, yes. And he's like, well, now you can call yourself a professional, which I thought was interesting because... is that legit? Like, do you think that now this is how I remember it? I could be also recalling it wrong, but yeah. At what point do you think it's like okay to call yourself a professional in your field that you've self-taught in?
Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of times the self-taught people aren't necessarily going to have the best reputations for being like the best, maybe, because there's a lot of, and maybe just, it's different nowadays because you can learn things a lot, and there's always going to be a stigma from people who are more traditionally taught a craft to shit on people who are self-taught.
For example, when we started our YouTube channel and started talking about some of our experiences in the forms of tutorials, and then a lot of people who were like, claimed legit filmmakers who went to school for film, who used to shit on us saying that we didn't know anything. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's not just that, but that's, like generally speaking, and there are a lot of people who flood any industry who are self-taught, but just because you're self-taught doesn't mean you're bad. And the flip side of that is just because you're traditionally taught doesn't mean you're good.
That's so true.
So there's exceptions to all rules. But there is that sort of stigma of people who being self-taught and not being either called professionals by themselves because of imposter syndrome, or not being called professionals by other people because they're self-taught, or because they're on a certain platform. Like, say, it's like the same question: are you a filmmaker if you do YouTube videos?
Right.
And it's not an all or nothing. You can be, but you might also not be. So I think from your question of when do you consider yourself a professional, I mean, by definition, if you're making it a living at something and it's your profession, then technically you're a professional.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that I actually had a hard time when I first had my first couple of paid gigs, when one would say, it's your profession now, you're doing it for a living, you've quit your day job and now you're freelancing full time and you're getting paid. It's your profession, therefore you're a professional. But I had a really hard time saying that I was a professional. Like, it made me uncomfortable because I didn't feel like I was a professional.
You had imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I was still pretty green, at photography and running a business.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people who, I mean, I guess with the advent of digital photography and the takeover of digital and video to that as well, it's created it's lowered the barrier for entry.
Right. So
it's a lot easier for anybody to go out and buy a prosumer level camera for not an insignificant amount of money, but for amount of money that's achievable by a lot of people now, more people than it used to be. And with the instant feedback of getting an image, what you see is what you get on the image on the back of the screen. There's no developing images, there's nothing like that. So it makes learning a lot easier. And I mean, yeah, you and I both shot film early on, photography wise, but it was only until we got digital that we rapidly sort of leveled up.
Yeah. Definitely.
Just because you can see, oh, this is how shutter speed and affects the image. This is how aperture affects the image. This is what the film speed does. Film speed, quote unquote.
Yeah, the ISO. Yeah, it's interesting. You get that immediate feedback that you didn't get with film. Like I remember shooting off multiple rolls of film. And it's funny because earlier this week we came across your photo bucket. Remember photo bucket? If you don't, you're probably not old. But we came across your photo bucket where
like tripod.com.
Yeah, it's like before, like a place to put your photos before Flickr was kind of like a thing. Like Flickr was like kind of
it was a thing before media. Instagram was a thing.
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, photo bucket was kind of like the photo version of like a Google Drive with very limited amount of space. Like you dump in your photos there. It wasn't really a social network, but it was a place for you to like store your shit. Whereas like Flickr was kind of more of a social network. You put up your photos, you comment on people's stuff, you'd see how many likes you got, views you got. So it was kind of like before Instagram. But so we came across your photo bucket, and in the photo bucket was all of the photographs from when you started photography. And when you and I started photography in high school, I started in film, and you shot some film, and you got your first digital camera far before I got my first digital camera. And so you progressed very fast compared to me. And I had been shooting for a couple of years, and so there was like a little bit of like jealousy there that you got.
Oh, like, you were jealous of me and my digital camera?
Yeah, I think I was jealous of how rapid you were growing your skills.
Because I was like at my house shooting just random photos of everything and anything.
Yeah, and you had a pretty good basis of knowledge in terms of like how imaging worked because you were shooting video. Like
yeah, I understand cameras because of video.
Yeah, so. But anyway, so we came across this photo bucket from when you first got your camera, and we used to go to these like punk rock shows.
Oh my God.
I had like a fake ID when I was like 16 and I didn't drink, but I only had a fake ID so we could go to these like shows and take pictures.
Yeah.
I think we probably talked about this before. So in the photo bucket, there were photos of all of these bands, some of which who are your friends still, others who we don't talk to anymore. And the photos were like looked exactly how I remember when I'd get my film back. I would shoot like 3 rolls of film at like firing. Remember firing?
Yeah.
And it would, except for your photos were actually in focus and exposed, where mine were all blurry and overexposed because it was film. You'd shoot what you thought, but like there was lights everywhere and it was dark, and you have like your one set film speed. You know, you pick your 800 or your 400 roll. It was funny to come across those old images because I remember all your photography being incredible.
And it is not.
But your first, I mean, we all started.
It was all like the shutter drag with the pop of the flash.
Yeah.
And it was like, just like you take the photo.
We're like, cool, slow shutter speed.
Yeah, you shoot with slow shutter speed, pop the flash to freeze the action. Then you start shaking your camera out, get all the light, like the streaky lights.
Yes, yeah.
Or you'd zoom in and get like the.
Yeah. Gosh, times were different.
Oh my God. Every photo looked the same.
Yeah. But you know what? We shot so much. I shot shitloads of film. And then when I got digital, I shot so many photos. So did you. We were shooting every weekend photographs. And it's just funny to look back on those old photos because you almost forget. You're like, there's a point where you cross over to quote unquote the professional photographer where you're like, now I've got my skills kind of like worked out. I know how to use flash. I know how to light stuff. I know how my camera works. I can like go and deal with a client and shoot a portrait or like a band. We were shooting a lot of band stuff because like concert photography went to band photo shoots, which turned into headshots, which turned into commercial work for me anyway. Like you remember your early works when you were getting paid because you were already at like a level, but you kind of forget like what did those photos look like before I was quote unquote a professional?
They were not good.
They were so bad.
I remember when in that age, that was like the era of you graduating high school. And I remember I was wearing my baggy old suit.
Yep.
And I had my Canon 20D. I had gotten a Sunpack old school flash with like the like sidearm thing, the extra auxiliary power cable to the belt holder battery pack so that the battery pack could power the flash. Because I was just obsessed with the idea of being able to do rapid fire flashes to do like motor drive sequences for BMX.
I remember.
And I did like a few of them.
Yeah.
But it was like I had this whole setup because I wanted to do rapid fire sequence shots like you saw in magazines and then like stitch them all together. And I had that like old school flash. And then I had this old, I think it was a Sigma, it was like this black telephoto lens. I think it was like 70 to 300. But I remember like when you zoomed, it like telescoped outwards.
Oh my God, yes.
And I was like, oh, this lens is so cool. It's so big and professional. And I'd like have it extended out and be like holding my big old camera with my massive flash on the side, my battery pack, like, thinking I was like so cool.
Yeah. I remember
what a dork.
I remember during my grad year shooting, and I was like such a catch-22 because I was like, this is great. We have a photographer who's shooting photos. But then the other side of me was just like, stop shooting photos and be my date. Like, pay attention to me.
Oh. And now it's the opposite. Now I never shoot.
I know.
You're like, take some photos of me.
I'm sad that you don't shoot anymore because you were so good. Like going off before you kind of stopped shooting photography, you were doing like some really good stuff. And I loved going out with you because we both had our own cameras. We both had a 5D Mark II, which now we just share. We have one photo camera, one video camera, and we just share. We pass it back and forth. But
makes no sense for us to have double bodies.
It doesn't because you stopped shooting basically. And so, but we both had 5D2s and we'd go out and we'd shoot, and it was the best because I loved coming back and just seeing what you would capture from wherever, whatever we were shooting that day, because it was always completely different than what I was seeing. You saw stuff that was just so different, and the way you process was different. The way you interacted with people was different, and the way you lit shit was different. And I'm so sad that you don't shoot anymore because you were just very talented.
It's like when we go out with friends who shoot YouTube videos and we'll come back with different videos despite being at the same place for the same weekend or whatever.
It's the best. Yeah. So for you and me, like I still feel weird calling myself like a professional photographer.
Do you consider yourself a professional video person now? No. Even
though I make a living from it. Like I make money from making videos for the internet, but I do not consider myself a professional
video dude,
which is so weird because like
a professional videographer.
All of the check boxes are checked to define like a professional. Like they're checked. You make a living off it. You make money off it. You make it, whatever people are hiring you to do it.
Literally got hired by Adobe for their series Creating with the Pros.
I know, but
pros being short for professional.
I think it's an imposter syndrome moment.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Right. So when we kind of crossed over that line originally, when like photography was like, when I left my marketing job, we started Bold Creative, which we should make a podcast about, just like that company. And I was doing this stuff. Technically, I was a professional photographer. Nowadays, how does it work if like, because the definition is like you're doing freelance work for people, but now you just start on Instagram, like where is the threshold? Like if you're making ad revenue,
it's probably a lot more confusing for people nowadays.
Right? Because there's no clear cut, like I have a client, therefore I'm a professional. It's like,
right,
I'm making ad revenue. So am I a professional? Or are you not a professional until you do a brand deal?
Yeah, or like what about a lot of the landscape photographers whose job it is to go out and create just like really nice imagery of these destinations, and they get paid to do it indirectly through brand sponsorships and partnerships, and their job is literally like Instagram, creating images for Instagram.
Yeah.
Are they considered a professional photographer?
Yeah.
I still think they are.
I think so.
Yeah, if they're creating images professionally that, plays into their livelihood.
Yeah.
Then yeah. So here's a question.
Okay.
Am I considered a professional pilot then? Since we make videos for YouTube that sometimes involve flying, I don't consider myself a professional pilot, despite having a commercial license.
Yeah, I don't know, because it's a little bit different. Because like technically we make videos about flying, so therefore one could say that the helicopter is part of the business, therefore we're making money, therefore you're professional. But you don't do tours. Like you don't directly make money from flying helicopters in a sense of like...
Yeah, flying helicopters is incidental to our YouTube videos. Like YouTube videos,
it's like driving a car
makes the money.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, am I a professional driver if I was driving from point A to point B?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Because in my mind, a professional driver is somebody who like races cars.
So if I had a car channel then where I was doing car driving on tracks and that was like my niche, would I be a professional driver then?
Well, I think if you're driving on private tracks and people are hiring you to drive their cars on private tracks.
Chris Nicholas, professional race car driver.
Oh. But like, who do people like say for example, like Mercedes, do these campaigns with creators and they come and there's like professional drivers. Is that like from a roster of professional drivers, or is that like some dude who works at Mercedes who's like deadly at driving cars?
I don't know. They probably have people on staff.
Right. So
test drivers.
Yeah. So it gets weird with,
like helicopter companies have test pilots on staff.
Yeah. So they're professional pilots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't, even if I had a channel that was helicopter only, I wouldn't be a professional pilot, because I think professional pilot confers a certain application of flying.
Yeah.
Like it's either somebody who's
like doing tricks,
like an air charter,
yeah,
or somebody who's working in the helicopter industry proper, but I don't think that this is considered the helicopter industry proper. I think this is like an offshoot.
Right.
But it would technically
gray area.
But that would mean that using the same logic, then it means all Instagram photographers, I shouldn't consider real photographers then.
Right. Well, I think it's the
same thing.
Are
right?
you creating art while flying? Because art is where things, it's like a big gray area.
I consider myself a helicopter artist.
Okay, so here's another question for you. Do you think that you are required to spend a number of hours at something before you can consider yourself a professional? No.
I don't believe that.
No.
I
don't believe that either. I think if you're good, you're good.
And if you take the opposite of that and you say, well, that means that if anybody spends an arbitrary number of hours, then they can just randomly call themselves a professional.
Right. Which is not true.
No,
because you could spend,
I know a lot of people will put a lot of time into things and they're not good at that thing.
Yeah.
Because it correlates with how good you're going to be at something. It doesn't necessarily, it's not an absolute.
Right. That's so true.
There's exceptions to the rules on both sides. People can be good at something with minimal amount of time, if they are strategic on how they spend their time and they have maybe a natural inclination or a combination of all of the above, they can get really good at something really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And compared to there's other people who spend, their lifetime doing a hobby, but never really get that good at it.
Right.
But, maybe that's not what they want to do. Maybe they want to make it be a professional. Maybe they just want to do it for fun. That's what the enjoyment they get out of it, which is fine.
Yeah. Sometimes we go down these like random conversations when we're sitting in those black chairs in our living room.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I feel like this is one of those conversations that might be kind of like a fun listen. I didn't know how long it was going to last, but.
So I wonder about your sister now.
Okay. So what about my sister?
So she just started a new job. Are we allowed to say this? Is this like.
I don't know, Jessica. Are we allowed to talk about you publicly?
Anyway, so she just took a job. She started a job at a sign shop.
Yeah.
So is she a professional sign maker now?
She's getting paid to make signs.
She is, but she just started.
Right.
So is she considered a professional sign maker?
I would say that she's an amateur sign maker.
An amateur.
So
she's making a living doing it.
She is, but she's new at it. She's still kind of, she's like.
An apprentice sign maker?
Yeah. Well, she just had training for a little bit of time. Now she's in that practicing stage. So like when you reach a certain level of efficiency, does that counteract?
I don't know, man. She's making money making signs. So she's
maybe she's a professional.
She's a professional sign maker in my books.
Yeah. Well, there you go, I guess. Does that mean she's also a professional painter because she sells her paintings? People hire her to do paintings.
I guess she would be, yeah.
So my sister is an artist. She's a very talented painter. She
got good really fast.
She got good really fast, but she's been practicing a lot. It's like what you're talking about. Yeah. It's like painting for her was a hobby and she really enjoyed it and she found it relaxing. And then she just got she was doing it so much that she just got really good at it.
I remember talking to her and she was just like, oh, it's not that hard. You just got to do it.
You just paint it. You just paint what you see.
You just put the brush to the paper and you put some colors here.
Bob Ross.
I know, right, Bob.
But she's so good. Like she painted this painting, I guess, of my grandfather.
Put this little happy tree right down here and it'll be a little secret.
But she painted this photo of my grandfather and I was blown away. Like it was so good. I was like, what the fuck? So she sells her paintings. So I guess she would be considered a professional painter.
I guess,
but maybe she didn't go to school for painting.
Maybe it's one of the things like your uncle where he doesn't consider himself, although he doesn't really sell his work though.
Well,
he has sold it before.
He's sold prints before. Mm-hmm. He just doesn't do
jobs for hire.
Yeah. But he sold art. So you know, are you a professional photographer? Are you a professional artist? Are you very confusing?
I always considered your uncle a professional photographer.
I did too. I always did.
Because he was always like, his knowledge level was better than most pros.
Yeah. And is like, is getting paid the only benchmark for professional? Because for me, like when I think about my uncle, he's proficient at photography. He knows everything about photography and imaging.
But he's not a professional.
What?
He's not a professional.
What do you mean professional?
Like if he was proficient, this makes him a professional. Versus if it was his profession, he'd be professional. Wah, wah, wah,
wait, hit the button. Sad tromboner.
Perfect use.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like if you asked him, he would say he's not a professional, but I would consider him professional.
Yeah, but if you go back to the root of the word.
Yeah.
Profession. It's your profession.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Am I a professional interventional radiologist?
Yes. Am I a professional YouTuber? So
I don't consider interventional radiology, well, obviously it's a profession, but I don't use the word professional blank, like interventional radiology never goes in there.
But you know, it's funny because like,
just like professional YouTuber,
it just
like
doesn't.
You're a YouTuber, you're an interventional radiologist.
But you know what? It's like, you could be a pro snowboarder or a pro BMX rider or a pro gymnast or a pro photographer. But like, do you ever really hear anybody saying like you're a pro cinematographer or pro filmer? It's usually like filmmaker takes the place of professional cinematographer or whatever.
What creates the use for the prefix professional? Like what professions have professional in front of it? How do we choose?
Right. So what I think in terms of like extreme sports, snowboarding, skateboarding, surfing, professional meaning you're sponsored. You have a sponsor, you have companies backing you. In which case, if you're a YouTuber working with brands, wouldn't you be pro as well? In that, if you were comparing,
that's a good thought,
right?
Yeah.
Because the professional snowboarders, skateboarders, extreme people, they're getting backed by brands. They're probably getting paid by brands. They're getting paid to wear brand logos. They have their own, like say Danny Beer, for example, a friend of yours from Newfoundland who's now a professional skater, like
inline skater.
Inline skater. He has his own skates. Yeah. Is that what they're called? Skates?
His signature skates.
Yes, signature skates. So he's a professional skater.
That's pretty cool.
Right? But like, does he make a living from skating?
I don't know. I think I would imagine it's probably pretty hard to make a living skating.
Right.
So here's the thing. If somebody is sponsored by a company in an extreme sport and they're getting flowed only merchandise and product, are they still a professional? Does it have to be money?
Oh, I don't know. You can't pay your bills with product.
Yeah, I don't consider professional blanks. If you're only getting product, I wouldn't consider someone a professional.
No.
So,
but a lot of these big people who are like, I mean, you look at people who are like in the Olympics and X Games.
If you're only getting merchandise, you're not a pro YouTuber. Sorry, I don't make the rules.
I just enforce them.
No offense to anybody's getting product.
No. There's nothing wrong with it, but you know, at a certain point you
gotta pay the bills.
You gotta pay the bills, man. You can't put food on the table and keep the lights on, keep your house heated with
gas in the helicopter.
With product.
Unrelatable.
Well, yeah. That's interesting because I feel like a lot of when I think about like pro snowboarders, like they must be getting paid, but who's paying them? Brands?
Yeah, brands pay them.
I guess some of them even have their own companies. Dude, I guess too.
Nike
like
SB.
Yeah.
It's their whole Nike skateboarding division.
Yeah, I guess that they would get paid, and then like, I guess people who it seems like there's a correlation between like snowboarders and filmmakers. Like a lot of these snowboarders are like producing these documentary kind of snowboard movies. Travis Rice, isn't he a professional snowboarder who also produced a couple of snowboard movies?
I don't know, man. I don't follow those people anymore, but I guarantee they're getting paid.
Yeah.
So here's my assessment of the professional, and let's just see if you can think of any exceptions to the rule.
Okay.
I feel like generally speaking, people use the prefix professional as when referring to somebody who's making money at something that traditionally would be considered a hobby or recreation.
Okay. Yeah.
That seems to dictate when we use professional blank.
Versus like I went to school for X amount of years to become this thing.
Right.
I am this thing. Not not a professional, this thing.
Yeah.
This is for my turkey pie, to put my turkey pie back in the thing. So
I already put it in the fridge.
You did?
Yes.
Well, I love you. Thank you.
Oh,
my God, you're just such an angel. That's really helpful. Thanks. I appreciate it.
I don't believe in waiting to put it in the fridge.
I know you don't.
Yeah. So professional is used because it's usually used, I guess, when something is usually considered a hobby or a recreational activity, maybe.
Do you think that it comes from, like, a person can be a professional photographer whether they went to school for photography or not? A person can be a professional snowboarder. There's no real school for snowboarding, so you can be a professional snowboarder. Do you think that the word professional comes in when you're dealing with these like non-traditional career paths where you may or may not have to go to school for it?
I just think it's more so with recreation. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you're a snowboarder.
Yeah.
Oh, but like I could call you you're a snowboarder, or you were, or like you're a, I don't know. What else do you like to do?
Interior design. But I'm not an interior designer.
No.
I'm not a professional interior designer.
No, but like someone says, oh, you're a cyclist.
Yeah.
But you're not like a professional cyclist because it's not your primary occupation.
It's like you're a home renovator, but you're not a professional contractor.
Yeah. But
nobody calls you professional contractor. Yeah. It's just contractor.
Oh, you know what? I just thought of one. Professional engineer.
Oh,
that's an exception.
That's an exception because you go to school.
There is no rhyme or reason to this.
What is it? Like, somebody just tell us why.
Yeah, we need a linguist to chime in.
Yeah,
preferably one that's cunning.
A
professional linguist. Not an amateur linguist.
Not an amateur. No, it must be professional. Yes. You must have made a $1 off of one piece of language.
Hey, I used to bag groceries when I was a kid to make money in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
I'm a professional grocery bagger.
I used to teach swimming lessons. I was a professional swim teacher.
Yeah, but you were just swim teacher.
Right?
Yeah.
It was a lifeguard, actually. Mm-hmm. Not even swim teacher. Lifeguard.
But you made your money and you were swimming, but you weren't a professional swimmer.
No, I was not. Mm-hmm. But we did a damn lot of training.
Because professional swimmer has a connotation of you're like an Olympic person.
Olympic or like competitive.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's...
This has been a very random podcast.
Yeah. Well, you guys said you wanted to listen to whatever. So I thought, let's trigger this combo.
This is what goes on in our house.
This is what happens.
Random discussions of random topics.
Literally, that's what this podcast is.
That we know nothing about. I'm sure people, there's people who are like, just like, Google. This could have been solved with one Google search.
These idiots. The definition of professional is.
Yeah. Let me Google that for you.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that said, we're coming up on almost a half hour now. So do you want to do a segment of open mic?
I do want to do a segment of open mic.
Do we have a jingle for the open mic segment?
Not yet. I really need to make one because I'm slacking. I also have a question for you at the end. That's just a little fun ditty.
Okay. I have no idea what this question is. You've been teasing me with this question though for the past week.
You're it's a good question.
Hey, remind me when we were doing the podcast. I'm going to ask you a question.
I'm going to ask you this question.
I said, what is it? So I can remind you. No, I can't tell you. It's got to be for the podcast.
It's in my phone. It's a good question.
Okay.
First, open mic.
Okay.
Hey, Becki and Chris. I really appreciate your show. Love your content. I would just like to say, if you guys are looking for content, you guys need to check out Yosemite. I just got back from there, and oh my God, it's my favorite place in this entire world so far.
Do we go to Yosemite?
I hope you guys are doing great, and can't wait to hear more content. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for the tip. Where did we go? We went to Yellowstone.
Yosemite. Not the same.
Yeehaw,
Yosemite. Wait, is that how you say it?
Yosemite?
Yosemite.
Yeah, not the operating system because that's also a thing.
Yeah. Yosemite has been on my list. Well, I want to see all the national parks, but
I don't even know where Yosemite is. I'm so bad at geography. West of here, obviously.
Yeah, it's that way.
Like Idaho, Montana.
I feel like that's around where it is.
Stuff is like all Wyoming, all that stuff. That whole area is just a blur. At one point when I was a kid in elementary school, growing up in Texas, I had to, like, on one of the tests, you had to name all of the. Yosemite's in California.
It's in California.
Yeah, I knew that.
Of course it's in California.
See, I knew that. You didn't tell me. I knew that.
You only knew because I laughed and you were like, I bet it's somewhere really obvious.
No, it triggered me to know it was in California.
Well, me going like this.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's in California.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. You guys saw it, all their video evidence.
Man, there's so much stuff that I like. Sometimes I just look at the map and I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
everywhere here.
But that whole area, like where Yellowstone is, that all is just a blur to me.
Yeah, Wyoming.
Is that considered the Midwest? See,
No, I think the Midwest, isn't the Midwest like Dakotas and
I don't know. See, I grew up in Texas.
the center?
And like I learned Texas history, which I probably am not very good at anymore. I'm not a professional Texas historian.
I didn't do any history. Like I know nothing.
And then I moved to Canada and I didn't know anything about the rest of the United States.
Dude.
But then again, people in the United States don't know anything about any other countries anyway, too. So.
Well, I mean, you think about how many people in the U.S. know like a lot about Canada. Now we've been living here for long enough that we should really know more about the U.S. But
probably, but we don't.
But we know
we're ignorant Canadians.
We are. We know some stuff about the places that we've been to, but the U.S. is so big, man. So Yosemite has been on my list for a while. I really would like to go over there, and I'd love to do a trip where it's like we go to Yosemite, and then we go to Joshua Tree, and we see the petrified forest, and like do that whole thing. I don't even know if they're in like a similar area or not, but I think that would be fun to do. Yellowstone was mind blowing. Like I want to go back and do Yellowstone. There's this company that I found that you can rent vans, like a converted Sprinter van. And
you could live the van life without being a professional van lifer.
Exactly. You can live the van life without being a professional van lifer. And without paying to mod your van, you could just rent the van for a week and then give it back, which is kind of cool. So I think that would be a laugh. There's so much I want to see. But first we have to see what's in our own backyard.
We do, yeah. Here's my gripe with the U.S. though.
Okay. Here's my gripe with your landmass and all your cool shit that we can see.
Yeah, no. Was that there's a real paucity of wilderness in the U.S.
What is the definition of paucity?
There's a real lack of.
Lack of wilderness?
There's lots of wilderness.
Yeah.
But there's there's not a lot of unregulated wilderness, put it that way. There's no crown land, basically, is what I'm getting at.
This has to do with helicopters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, in Canada...
I was going to say, there's a lot of beautiful shit around
there.
US.
There is. And it's great because it's all been protected and conserved.
Yeah.
Because, obviously, it's a natural resource and it's natural beauty, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust humans to not destroy everything in their wake.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate in a sense that, like, in Canada, where you literally could be in every province, you just go north and there's like,
oh my God, that's so true.
So much land that is just,
why is it that? Because just go north.
Yeah. Just
I
go
guess
north.
It's colder and
it's colder. Yeah. But it's like, there's a lot of wilderness and it's wilderness that's just like nobody goes to.
Do you know where I'd love to go?
It's just vast amounts of land.
You know, it'd be a fun place. It would be terrifying to go.
Where?
But it would be fun to do it with somebody who knew what they were doing. Well, that would be cool too. Mm-hmm. The Torngat Mountains in Labrador.
Yes.
Would love to do that. So Dave Howells, who before we had this podcast, when we had a segment on our YouTube channel called Creatively Committed, which God, do you even know how they use the buttons? Just kidding. We actually interviewed him, and people who watched the video really enjoyed Dave because he is like he's a professional photographer.
He's a professional photographer.
He's professional. He does a lot of commercial photography, a lot of advertising photography. Great photographer. And he went up to the
professional because he uses a Leica.
Maybe. Doesn't he have like a 1DX? He has like a bunch of like Canon, like really high end Canon gear. Anyway,
I don't know.
And he has Leicas, lots of them. So he went up to the Torngat Mountains with somebody. I don't remember what company it was. I thought there was like something to do with like National Geographic, but I could be really wrong. And he was up there with like guides and people to like take him around, and like they had to carry guns because of the polar bears and shit. They were just like, it's wild up there. But I saw some of his images and he had some like gorgeous photos of polar bears in the mountains, and it was just like blew my mind.
I would love to arrange a trip into the wilderness like that, but
with somebody who knew how to survive in the wilderness, like
not just me, you, and the helicopter.
No. I'd like to go with somebody who knows how to survive, so I could just concentrate on taking photos.
Mm-hmm. I would like to predetermine a route.
Okay.
and then like have like 50-gallon oil drums shipped up to checkpoints
Yeah.
and be able to do like a true wilderness trip, but not have to worry about fuel stops.
Yeah, that'd be fucking scary up there with like the weather and the bears and like
Yeah.
there's a lot of sketchy wildlife up there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So
But what I was saying about the, that being the wilderness, and the Torngat Mountains is a national park, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
It's a protected park.
It's like all the way up North Jesus. All the way up there.
Yeah, so it's very out there, but that's a lot of Canada is just unoccupied land, wilderness. But down here, wilderness has connotations of it's protected wilderness.
Right. So you can't just land anywhere.
No, it's protected. If you see wilderness, it usually means it's protected in some capacity.
Right.
But the only exception that I'm aware of, and anybody who's listening to this, prove me wrong, because I'd love to know about more areas that I can bomb around with the heli, but is the BLM lands in
Arizona,
kind of over like
Utah.
Arizona, Utah area. So the Bureau of Land Management lands, all of that like desert area, the red rocks, not the red rocks, but like the rocks that are red.
Yeah.
That kind of like imagery. There's all sorts of land there that people can just use. And
That's cool.
And it's kind of like if a helicopter, I think that it's legal to do basically any of those things that you want to do recreationally, like motorized vehicles. But I think there's some weird stipulation, like you can't do professional stuff there, like commercial. Like I couldn't just like, I couldn't just like fly a film crew out there and film a movie without permission. But outside of that, yeah, I think it's pretty much fair game, whatever you want to do, because there's nobody there.
Right.
Yeah. But there's no land like that on the East Coast. Certainly not in New York State anyway.
No. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah, lots of cool spots up in Canada to do that.
Yeah. I think the Pennsylvania National Forests may have looser regulations than the New York State National Forest.
But even with the forest, there's
State
not a lot
forest,
of spots to like
No, but
land,
so
right?
my buddy, he does a lot of off-roading in his Jeep, and he says that the forests in Pennsylvania he goes down to all the time because apparently they're less strict with the rules there for motorized vehicles.
Interesting.
And he's like, I just go off and I just drive my Jeep on whatever trails are there. He's like, where in New York, it's a little bit more stringent. And I haven't vetted that. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah.
But that's what he told me. So I was like, oh, maybe we should go down to some Pennsylvania forests and just. And again, it's like if nobody sees you land, if a tree falls in the forest, if a helicopter lands in the forest and nobody hears it or sees it, did it make a sound? Did it really happen?
Yeah, it happened because we were probably filming it for our YouTube channel.
Was it in the Pennsylvania forest though? Who knows? I could have owned that land. No one knows where we are.
No, unless we say.
You don't know.
Unless I put up a title, say, hey, we're here.
Anyway, on that note.
I would like to ask you this question because I'm sick of saving it.
Yeah, we're on 39 minutes now though, so
Listen,
save it for the next one. Okay, go for it.
No, I'll save it for the next one.
No, you have to tell me because I'm so
we're going to
curious.
save it for the next one.
No, I'm so curious.
You called it. You said we'll save it for the next one. Okay, I'm going to ask you the question.
You troll.
This is probably going to be a 10-minute conversation.
Okay.
I saw it on Facebook.
Okay. Is this going to be something that I've like hyped up so much? I thought it was going to be such a good question. And now it's like just a letdown.
Terrible. Yeah, it's going to be a lunch bag. Perfect. Okay, here's the question.
Okay, ready?
Toy company makes an action figure of you. What 2 accessories does it come with? A toy company makes an action figure of you. What 2 accessories does it come with? You're fully clothed, birds covered up, nips are covered. 2 accessories.
Of me?
Yeah. A toy okay, let me say it for the third time. A toy company makes an action figure of Chris Nicholas. It comes with 2 accessories.
Maybe you should choose my accessories and I'll choose your accessories.
Shit.
Because you had your accessories already picked out, but you didn't have mine.
Okay. See, here's the problem. Because I think of like Barbie, like back in the day, I was obsessed with Barbies. And Barbie came, like there was snowboarding Barbie who like came with a snowboard and boots. But then there was like, add-ons. Like you get the Barbie pool or the Barbie Corvette, which I had all of them because I was obsessed. So
yeah, bro, but did you hear of GAC?
Yes, because I also liked GAC. It made it fart sounds.
I'm pretty sure I've told this story on the podcast.
I think you have.
Yeah. Bottom line is my house burned down, so I essentially liquidated all my toys and bought all GAC because I was brainwashed by Nickelodeon media. And so essentially, effectively, I liquidated all my toys for GAC. And it was a letdown. It was a sad tromboner. That was my childhood.
Yeah.
Grade 2.
Oh,
in a nutshell.
Poor Chrissy. So my thing is, does the action figure Chris Nicholas come with the helicopter, or is the helicopter the add-on? Do you know what I mean? Like, is the helicopter like the Corvette, or is the helicopter the snowboard? The snowboard came with Barbie. The Corvette was an add-on. You had to buy it separately.
I never thought about that.
So that's my question. I think it comes with the helicopter. I think it's
Definitely.
like, this is a big box action figure toy. It's Chris Nicholas, Dr. Chris Nicholas with the helicopter.
Comes with a catheter in one hand and a helicopter in the other hand.
Yeah. It's like the suit is like one side pilot, one side doctor, like half scrubs, half whatever.
That's pretty much my existence.
Yeah. Okay. So you come with the helicopter. So now I'm torn between two other accessories. A helmet, headset, because I kind of think like...
Oh, you have to be thematically with it, right?
It has to be thematic. But then also like, should it be like a pellet gun? Like you're going on an excursion and you're like going to protect yourself from bears.
I'm not going to protect myself from bears with a pellet gun.
Or should it be a camera or a drone? Or should it be like, this is action figure Chris Nicholas pilot aerial photography edition?
I was going to say a X-ray tube, but whatever.
An X-ray tube.
A C-arm.
You're going to come with a C-arm.
That's
No,
my
the
accessory.
C-arm is an add-on. The C-arm is a Corvette.
Why is the helicopter not an add-on then?
Because you said it wasn't.
I just said the C-arm wasn't?
If the C-arm is an add-on and the helicopter is an add-on, then you come with
a wallet and a watch. I don't know. I don't wear watches.
You come with a bag of voodoo chips and a Sierra Mist.
Sierra Mist. I guess. Terrible accessories.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you come with? What is the Becki?
I thought you were going to choose for me.
I chose for me. You didn't choose for me.
No, I said you're coming with a helicopter and a headset.
Okay.
Great accessories. Now I can play Pilot Chris, and then later if I want to get the upgrade, I could buy the scrubs.
Here's what you
play
come
Dr.
with
Chris.
then.
Okay.
You come with a notebook.
What a boring...
And a camera.
Okay. That's good.
Those are the two things that you use? That's practical.
It's the only two things that I use.
It's practical.
Yeah.
Or an iPad. You can say iPad.
No, a notebook is good. I love a notebook.
Analog notebook.
Yeah, I love an analog notebook. And like a camera. It's like a dope strap.
You were just going to say that was boring.
Well,
we can't all come with helicopters, honey.
I guess we can't all be as cool as you.
We can't all come with C-arms.
We can't all have hobbies that are just like insane. Sorry, what am I coming with? A Pantone swatch book?
That's a great one. You're my hot librarian. Someone said that about you.
I'll have a Pantone swatch book in one hand and just a Benjamin Moore paint deck in the other.
Oh my God.
2 swatch books. Whoever gets that extra is like, what the fuck is this? Like, what do these mean? Such niche products.
Why are there two? I mean, a C-arm?
So I said a helicopter and a headset. You could play helicopter then. Take the headset off. You could like, boom, put you in there and just like, you know. How big are these action figures? Are we talking Barbie size or are we talking Polly Pocket size?
You make the rules. This is your question. This is your fantasy.
Maybe you would know Mighty Max better than Polly Pocket.
And do we have just like eunuch patches down there?
Well, that's the way Barbies were. They just kind of had mounds for boobs and like no downstairs.
Same with the G.I. Joes.
So what would be your outfit of choice for your action figure?
I don't know, probably scrubs, since I wear scrubs every day.
So wait, you're going to wear scrubs and you're going to come with a helicopter and a headset? You got to pick one theme, man. Is it Pilot Chris or is it Dr. Chris?
It's the whole brand. The whole brand.
Where's your swatch book?
Well, I'm hoping there's good weather tomorrow because I'm going to fly to work. So I will be wearing scrubs in the helicopter. So
well,
boom.
Okay.
Realistic.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm wearing all black.
Forecast looks bad though.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be flying to work tomorrow.
No, I don't think so either.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for a movie.
Okay.
I'm a little bit chilly. So I think there might have been also Thunderclap. I think that's what I might have heard.
Maybe. What movie are we watching?
Well, I don't know. We have a number of movies in our watch list on the old Amazon Prime. I think that's the platform that we've chosen tonight to watch from.
We have too many platforms. We have to pare down.
Literally all of them. What are you going to choose?
I don't know.
I am still shocked and appalled that you haven't seen the Titanic yet. In fact, that is on our watch list. That might be the one for tonight. If you can handle a 195-minute movie.
Well, you know what? If I fall asleep during it, just fill me in on the parts I missed.
No.
You're going to make me rewind and watch the whole thing?
You don't get filled in on the Titanic. Because if that was the case, I could just tell you about it. You need to watch it. You need to cry. You just see the old couple in the bed. They're just like, oh, I'm just going to die.
The old couple in the bed?
You'll see.
What?
It's coming. At the end. Spoiler.
Is it true or false? Is there a line in this movie that says, draw me like your French girls? Is that where that line comes from?
I think so.
Is that where that line comes from?
I think so. I think that, yes. I don't know if that's what she says exactly.
Where does draw me like your French girls come from?
Here's what I found.
Know your meme. And they never lie. Draw me like one of your French girls is an expression from the 1997 drama film Titanic, which is often used to capture photos of people or animals lying down in an alluring pose.
Yeah, and she's nude.
Knowyourmeme.com.
Was
there nudity in that movie? I feel like that was a PG movie.
I feel like there's nudity because I feel like that was one of the first movies I was like, boobs.
Well, if I knew there was boobs in it and I was a kid, I would have watched it way sooner.
I know, right? I should have told you earlier that there's boobs in it. Maybe you would have watched it with me.
Yeah, because you... Anyway.
I don't even know if they're bare boobs.
I don't think there would be. Definitely not.
We'll have to watch it now to find out.
All right, we'll
report back.
We'll report back.
We'll let you know if there's Titanic boobies.
All right, with that said, we will see you guys on the next one.
Go rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. 5 stars only. Don't take into consideration that we say tits, farts, and swear words. Thanks.
Professional podcasters.
Professional podcasters.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.